Good evening, the evening news. My name is David Ojo. A legal practitioner on the state, Mr. Awonu Alabi, has recommended that the Constitution of Nigeria should accommodate a punishment of refunding any benefit enjoyed by any political office holder who is unjustly given a political power. Mr. Awonu, who stated these after featuring on Osbc TV current affairs program, opined that the step will go a long way to reducing the number of litigation after the election. He also urged political parties to be just in choosing their candidates for any political post to guarantee them a number of votes. He speaks further.
Who may have been sworn in and may have spent some period of their tenure, but they later found out that they ought not to have been there after they have been taken to the tribunal. Presently in the country, there is no provision in our laws that say they should refund whatever they have taken. But because we are still developing, everybody knows that now it is time for us to further tinker with our electoral laws and the Constitution, and then insert the provisions that anyone who was wrongly sworn into an office will, after the tribunal has found out that he ought not to be there, will be made to refund whatever entitlements, salaries, or emoluments he might have taken.
The Independent National Electoral Commission and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission have been listed as panelists to discuss alleged corruption in Nigeria's 2023 elections. A panel was put together by the Conversation African, which has over the last 2 years been hosting science and policy dialogues that bring scientists and policymakers together to discuss issues. According to a statement, other panelists include Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, Hamzat Lawal of Code for Africa, Dr. Damilola Balajobi, and Professor Emmanuel Ayede. The panel is expected to address questions on the role of corruption in just concluded general election and also note the gains and the challenges recorded. Women's participation in the election will also be addressed as the panel hopes to highlight lessons learned for the future. The President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu won the February 25 presidential election in Nigeria as announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has confirmed the arrest of 2 of its officials, Akpata Odunayo and Uguchi Tochukwu, who are allegedly involved in a scuffle that led to the death of a cadet, Hebel Issa, and the Sokoto Zonal Command of the Anti-Graft Commission. The spokesperson for the EFCC, Wilson Uwajaran, revealed this today during a press conference at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. The Anti-Graft Agency also noted that the suspect had been suspended by the Commission and handed over to the police for further investigation and possible prosecution. The suspect has been charged with criminal conspiracy and culpable homicide at the Chief Magistrate Court, Wagwa, in Sokoto State. The Afrobeat musician Seun Kuti had been remanded for 48 hours in police custody for the allegedly assaulting a police officer. Kuti, in a 12-second video clip that went viral, had assaulted a policeman on the 3rd Mainland Bridge in Lagos State. The defendant turned himself in at the Lagos State Police Command Ikeja following an order for his arrest by the Inspector General of Police, Usman Babak Ahmed Kali. He was later transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department, PANTI, and was arraigned before the Yaba Magistrate Court for assault on a police officer, an offense contrary to Section 356 of the Nigerian Criminal Code Act. The magistrate, Adiola Olatubosu, after listening to both parties, requested 5 minutes of recess, stating that she needed to deliberate on her own. The prosecution, led by Osbc and Maruf Animashaun, prayed the court to remand the defendant for 21 days pending legal advice from the Directorate of Public Prosecution. Key players in the fight against sexual and gender-based violence have a call on well-meaning Nigerians on the need to strengthen access to community-based psychological and psychosocial support for survivors of gender-based violence in the Nigerian society. The Director of Center for Women's Health and Information, Mrs. Atinuke Odukoya, alongside Senior Program Officer Sigwin, Mrs. Sumbo Oladipo, stated these at the closing ceremony of the Accountability Forum on Strengthening Access to Community-Based Psychosocial Support for the Survivor of Violence Against Women and Girls, organized by the Center for Women's Health and Information in Oshogbo, the Osun State capital. The duo described gender-based violence as a menace to the growth of the society, which needs the urgent attention of governments at all levels, including families and the community. Mrs. Odukoya and Mrs. Oladipo added that with the support of the Ford Foundation, Singwin will have been able to train over 248 personnel across Osun, Ogun, and Oyo State, noting that they will serve as a first aider to the victims and survivors of gender-based violence in their respective communities. And now to sports. Nigeria's senior men's national rugby team, Black Stallions, will kick off their campaign for Paris 2024 Olympics qualifier for the first game against Ghana in Mauritius. The Black Stallions will be hoping to cause another upset by making it to the Olympics after shocking the world in 2014 by qualifying for the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. They will take on Burundi, which will be crucial before tackling Democratic Republic of Congo in their last Pool A match. Nigeria began its preparation for the Olympics qualifier in early May with the convergence of players based in the United Kingdom under the watchful eyes of Temi Okinla, while newly appointed Black Stallion coach Steve Lewis has been supervising players based in Europe and the United States of America. And now to foreign story. At least 6 people have been killed in a fire that tore through a 4-story hostel in the early hours of today in New Zealand's capital, Wellington. Reports say several people were plucked from a rooftop for safety. The emergency services in the country said multiple people have died in the 92-room hostel and 52 people had been rescued. The Fire and Emergency Deputy National Commander, Braden Nally, said firefighters used a ladder truck to save people trapped on the roof. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said the death toll was at least 6, but the city's mayor, Tory Wando, said it could be significantly higher. And with that story ends the evening news this evening. Join us at 7 for the major report. Thanks for watching and bye for now.